What is going on, good people? Today we are doing another mock draft, this time from the seventh pick. So if you have the seventh pick, this video is especially for you, but I would argue this video is for anybody who's doing a fantasy football draft. We're going to talk through some strategy. We're going to talk through some sleepers. We're going to talk my favorite targets, my least favorite targets as we go along here. So without further ado, let's get into the draft. So here we are again, the mock draft simulator on Fantasy Pros, the Draft Wizard. I've found that you can do these very quickly, and I think they're really good simulations. I know it's a simulation. I know I'm drafting against bots, but I think that this is one of the best ways you can prepare yourself for your fantasy football draft, and it doesn't take much time, and it's relatively realistic. I get it. There are some kinks in every simulator, but for as quick as you can do it, I think it's really good. So I think it's a really good exercise. And I like talking through players and discussing strategy and all that good stuff, which I suppose is why I have a YouTube channel about fantasy football. So the settings, they're about the same as they've always been. 2025 season, PPR snake, picking from the seventh spot. I usually go one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers at tight end, two flexes, 8 bench spots. So we're going to be making 16 total picks. Kickers and defenses, if you want me to include kickers and defenses, fine. I guess I can in one of these mock drafts, but you should always be taking your kicker and defense last. And honestly, I stream defenses in all my fantasy football leagues. Anybody who's taking their defense in round 8 or 9, I mean, just please don't do that. Same thing with the kicker. The scoring is just too random for those kickers. We're going to be drafting against the Fantasy Pros experts using Yahoo pre-draft rankings because I do a lot of my leagues in Yahoo. So without further ado, everything's normal here. Here we go. Hopefully I didn't screw anything up there. I've been doing these enough, you would think. Oh my gosh. So Jahmyr Gibbs, as Derek Brown, loves Drake London. Just loves Drake London. Now, we do have a decision. I mean, this, honestly, at the 7th spot, we have some fantastic options. Now, I know CMC goes at the 102, which is, I mean, his team name's Run CMC. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose that could happen. CMC is getting pushed up, especially in these high stakes leagues I'm watching on YouTube. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a smash here at the 107. I know I love Malik Neighbors as much as the next person, and I would be open to taking him here. I'd be open to Saquon. Those are probably the 3 guys that I would consider. And then we're really pulling for another player in my, like, one of these guys. It's probably not going to happen because we have, I can't even do this math. 12 picks, I think, between our next pick. No, 10. So we're probably not going to get one of these guys. Honestly, I think one of the better slots to pick from is 110, 111, 112 because you get 2 of, like, a Nico and a Puka or a BTJ and an Amon-Ra St. Brown, or however you want to mix and match those guys. I mean, potentially you could get Neighbors there if it's a league that, doesn't value players in a quote unquote good situation. You could get Malik Neighbors there. I spoiler alert, I think Malik Neighbors is in just a fine, is in a good situation. I think it's just fine. It's not good. It's obviously not as good as Joe Burrow's, but we're gonna. That's enough yapping. I'm gonna take Jahmyr Gibbs here. I kind of like getting a running back earlier. That way we can hammer wide receiver later. And honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to starting running back here if we wanted to go Chase Brown. I'm coming around to that. Again, I have surprised myself. I've drafted more double hero RB teams than I thought I would. With that being said, there are some other tantalizing options on the board. I think AJ Brown, even though he is dealing with an injury, hamstring, he's also has a knee issue I've heard people talk about. So that kind of scares me a little bit, but playing in that offense with Jalen Hurts, if we think, and I like Saquon, I'm middle of the road Switzerland when it comes to Saquon Barkley this year. If you want to take him in the middle of the first round, I have no problem with it. He went 108 in this mock draft. If Saquon falls off this year, if he gets hurt, whatever, the anti Saquon Barkley people are saying, if it happens, the Eagles are likely going to have to throw more. And if they throw more, that's going to be really good for A.J. Brown. I think it's going to be really good for Jalen Hurts, too, under the radar, who's going in the 4th round, 5th round sometimes in some of these drafts I'm seeing, which is wild to me. So I would be fine with A.J. Brown, Chase Brown. I'd be fine with Bowers at the spot. Those would probably be the 3 guys I'm choosing between. But I will go with a wide receiver in A.J. Brown because I don't think I've selected him here. So the 2 tight ends go off. Garrett Wilson gets drafted. Breece Hall at the 210 is a lot earlier than I've seen him go. Chase Brown, Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Kenneth Walker, Kyron Williams, T. Higgins, Mike Evans. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. And I'm not a big proponent of JSN, but I think he's the top wide receiver for me on the board. Jonathan Taylor is also sitting there. I mean, that would be pretty tough to pass up. I have a short coming out. It may be out, may not be out, about the players that I do not want to draft in certain rounds. Jonathan Taylor was my round 2 pick because, and that's simply because it's a strong round 2, and where he's going, middle of round 2, you can get an AJ Brown, you could get an elite tight end, you could get Chase Brown or Josh Jacobs or Bucky, or I think all these running backs are in better situations and have way more upside than Jonathan Taylor does. And Jonathan Taylor's been hurt. He's missed at least 3 games in each of the past 3 years, sometimes more than 3 games. He's dealt with ankle injuries and he's getting up there in age, although he's not super old. Jonathan Taylor would be pretty tough to pass up in the middle of round 3. I will admit that. And I think I do like him a little bit better than JSN. You let me know what you think you would do. We do also have Devontae Adams, George Kittle, Marvin Harrison Jr. I can't do Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's go ahead and take Jonathan Taylor and see what happens. Okay, so some of the elite quarterbacks do come off the board. Josh Allen, JSN, George Kittle, James Cook, Jaden Daniels, Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton, that's a lot sooner than I've seen him go in some of these drafts. Alvin Kamara, Omarion Hampton, I think good value there. Lamar Jackson and Devontae Adams. Now we could pair up Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown and go elite quarterback. I don't mind doing that based on some of the wide receiver options later on, but we would have to get busy at wide receiver, and we'd likely be pushing tight end. We're already going to be pushing tight end at least a little bit. And yeah, I think that's probably the direction I'm looking to go, because a lot of these wide receivers are in a similar tier for me right now. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not afraid to go elite quarterback this year, is because a lot of the round 3, round 4 picks, to me anyway. I mean, I took Trevion Henderson in round 4 in a league, in our friends league, just because I got to round 4 and I was looking at the board and I thought, man, I like a lot of these players, but I would prefer to take them all in round 5 or round 6. And all the elite quarterbacks were off the board. Elite tight ends were off the board. So I went with Trevion Henderson. I thought it was a little bit early, but I thought maybe I could have waited, especially in a friends league. But for all those reasons and more, I think I'm talking myself into Jalen Hurts, who in my opinion is the last elite quarterback available. So we go Jalen Hurts. So I really like our start here. Jahmyr Gibbs, A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Hurts. R.J. Harvey comes off the board. DJ Moore, Teteroa McMillan, Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner, Rashee Rice, Trevion Henderson, DK Metcalf, Rome Odunze getting pushed up the board. Very interesting. I've seen him go in these simulations like round 6, round 7. I think he's ranked as a round 7 pick according to ESPN. The pre-draft sheet that everybody prints off, that they were up all over the place at my friend's draft. No offense to ESPN, but I think if you know what you're doing, you can definitely manipulate those drafts. So this is about what I thought would happen, and this is what I see happening a lot. Like rounds 5, 6, and 7, I think is a sweet spot for wide receiver. And we have our choice here: Devonta Smith, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle, Calvin Ridley, Zay Flowers, Jamison Williams, all in a similar type range for me. I don't know. We don't have to take Devonta Smith and get the double stack. I mean, if it were best ball, that would probably be smart. But we don't have to do that. I think that is the best value on the board. Xavier Worthy probably has the most upside, especially with that suspension. Although when Rashee Rice comes back, it's he could be relegated back to that deep, like just being a deep threat. Now the Chiefs have said they want to throw the ball deep more, but that target hog role you would think would be Rashee Rice's. So, but I'm fine with any of these players here, really. Travis Hunter also. I mean, I don't think he falls back to us in round 6, but maybe we take that chance. And man, should we just go invest heavily in Philly? I mean, it limits our upside a little bit, but in a 12-team league, I don't necessarily hate it. Especially if we think, this team, if we go AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts, we are making a bet that Saquon isn't as effective as he was last year, which I actually kind of like doing. And then, yeah, you let me know what you think. I'm gonna go Devonta Smith. I've always liked him as a player. So a lot of these wide receivers come off the board, and I do think that there's a smash pick on the board right now, and that would be Travis Hunter. Especially for this team, we got 2 running backs. Tony Pollard is sitting there. I do like him in this range over these other running backs, David Montgomery, Isaiah Pacheco. And I know Tony Pollard has been a guy that I've been iffy on. And I think I put out a tweet and I said I would be avoiding Tony Pollard. That was before we got some clarity on the Tajay Spears injury. He's going to start out on IR. He's going to miss the first 4 games. Tony Pollard is going to be a volume king, and I don't think many people have risen Tony Pollard up their rankings. I moved him up a little bit, but I absolutely think you can make the case he's a solid round 6 pick. With that being said, so he's okay. So according to this, dealing with an upper body injury, not too concerned about that. We're going to go Travis Hunter. And I really like the upside of a Travis Hunter on this team. So Jahmyr Gibbs, AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, Travis Hunter. Tony Pollard does come off the board 1 pick after we select Travis Hunter. Ricky Pearsall, Travis Etienne. Wow. Stephon Diggs, Hawkinson, Pacheco, Laporta, Mahomes, Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, Bo Nix, and Emeka Egbuka goes 1 pick before we can take him in round 7. That does hurt a little bit. So we are looking at potentially going with another running back. I do like Tracy Montgomery in round 7. Feels like a value. It could be a trap. But we have Jahmyr Gibbs. What am I talking about? We can't take David Montgomery. We have Jahmyr Gibbs. So we're not going to do that. Tyrone Tracy probably be the guy I'd be looking at. I also don't mind Jordan Addison. I would prefer to take him in round 8 with the suspension. Josh Downs and Michael Pittman, I don't think they've been bumped up enough. Matthew Golden, I think, is our backup plan if Jordan Addison comes off the board. I don't mind Matthew Golden. I think he's got a lot of upside. JCM, I think it's too early for him. So let's go ahead and take our 3rd RB, and let's take Tracy. I'm not even really thinking about tight end or quarterback here at all. So let's go ahead and take Tracy. So David Montgomery, Caleb Johnson, Addison does come off the board, and Njoku, Kelsey, Javonte Williams, Jordan Mason, Jacoby Myers, Chris Godwin, Jalen Warren. So according to this, quarterback would be the value pick. Khalil Shakir. So we could get more wide receivers here. I think that is probably the direction that I would lean to is wide receiver. So technically, with 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flexes, we have filled those flex spots, and we filled our quarterback spot, obviously. JCM, it still feels risky to take him in round 8, where I have him ranked as a round 9 or round 10 player at this point, which probably means I'm not going to get him unless you're playing in a home league, and in which case you might be able to wait even longer. I have said throughout the season that I do like Khalil Shakir. I do like Josh Downs. It would probably be between those 2 guys. I know that they're both dealing with some injuries. But I think between the 2 of them, Josh Downs and Khalil Shakir, it's close. But I will take the guy in the better offense. And I know that the Buffalo Bills were more of a run-heavy offense, more run-centric than they've been in the past with, I can't even think of the Joe Brady. Okay, I had a mental blockage there for a second. Joe Brady calling the plays. But again, I think I like Shakir in this range. Let me just make sure I'm not missing out. If we do take Shakir, it probably means we're missing out on Matthew Golden, who I do think is in a good situation there. I've come around on Matthew Golden. I think the upside is there. I am concerned about the way that Matt LaFleur likes to spread targets around in that offense. I think the perfect example player is Tucker Kraft. And Tucker Kraft last year, I mean, you saw it. He had a couple tight end 1 weeks, but then it was very hit or miss, mostly miss from there on out. So if you can deal with the inconsistency, maybe if he's in your flex, I mean, at this range, I think I'm okay with it. I've come around on it. So if we take Shakir or Downs here, I think Matthew Golden, we're probably going to miss out on him. I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm just going to go with Shakir. So Matthew Golden does come off the board. Krosky Merritt does go 1 pick before we can take him. Drafting next to Derek Brown is not fun. We miss out on Egbuka by 1 pick. JCM 1 pick. I would have been totally fine with JCM just for full transparency in round 9. Definitely would have been a consideration for us there. So wide receivers, Debo. I mean, Debo at this point for this team at this stage, I don't hate it. I get it. He's old. He's dusty. Some people think he's out of shape and fat. But in that offense, where your only other target competition is Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz, I mean, I think some people can be very ageist. I think Debo has a decent run left in him. And with what's available to us at this pick, we still do have to think about tight end. Tyler Warren is on the board, available to us to take. That would be a nice swing. I personally prefer Colston Loveland, who's ranked lower on most ADP boards and on this one. So I think I am going to take another wide receiver, and I'm going to take Debo. Dobbins would also be a nice pick. Tank Bigsby. I'm feeling good about our running backs though, and I think running back is a strength, and we need some more depth at wide receiver. So if one of those running backs comes back to us, I'm fine. But if not, we'll just see what happens. And of course, Dobbins comes off the board with the next pick. So Dobbins, Brian Robinson, Quinshawn, Dylan Sampson in round 9. I like Dylan Sampson. I think they've made some tweaks to this since the last time I drafted. Jerome Ford, Braylon Allen, Tank Bigsby. So a bunch of running backs come off the board. We are staring down the barrel of potentially, Darnell Mooney, Christian Kirk. Colston Loveland is there, so we do have to recognize that everybody on this side of the board has a tight end. So I feel pretty good about a tight end coming back if we wanted to load up on wide receiver some more, which, I mean, Jaden Reed would be a nice value pick. The problem with Jaden Reed is I wonder how much he's going to play in 2 wide receiver sets when there's not a when there's not a slot wide receiver on the field. At this point, there are some handcuffs that I like. You know, Trey Benson is somebody that I'd be into. Ray Davis, although less so now. Wandale Robinson's always a target of mine, especially in a PPR league. But I do think Jaden Reed is, and I know he's dealing with an injury. I do think that he could have some contingent upside if, Matthew Golden's not as good as we expect, or if there's another injury there. I think he could play a bigger role in that offense. There's also Darnell Mooney. I think it's probably between those 2 guys, but I do lean with Jaden Reed. So he's going to be the pick. And a bunch of running backs come off the board. Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen, Dak Prescott. No tight ends, as we predicted, come off the board. And Tyler Warren is there still. So we do have like a shield if one of these 2 teams over here wants to take a tight end. Like our preferred target, Colston Loveland, is further down. And let me know what you think in the comments. Are you a Tyler Warren fan? Are you a Colston Loveland fan? Or would you prefer a Tucker Kraft or Jake Ferguson as a late round tight end? And that's one of the reasons why I am just fine waiting on tight end. If you don't get Bowers, if you don't get Trey McBride, who in this draft both went in round 2, I think that's 100. Like, you can wait. I think this year more than any years. There's upside plays with Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. I like Hunter Henry quite a bit. Kyle Pitts has some upside. So I think you can piece together tight end this year more than a lot of years. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think that's one of my preferred strategies. Now, I know I've gone elite tight end in these drafts before, but these are mock drafts where I'm experimenting, tinkering with different strategies and taking different players in different spots. We thought about taking Mooney at our last pick, and I think that is the clear value. If we miss out on Loveland, I won't be heartbroken. I won't like it, but I won't be necessarily heartbroken. So I think Mooney is going to be our pick. So we still have a chance at Loveland here. So that worked out pretty well for us. Ayuk, Warren, Rico Daddle, Jaden Blue, Isaac Garendo, Goddard, Higgins, Marvin Mims, Rashad Bateman all come off the board. I think now's the time. I don't think we can wait any longer. I'm going to take Colston Loveland, and I'm going to feel just fine about starting him as our tight end 1. So some more tight ends come off the board. Tucker Kraft, Zach Ertz, Dalton Kincaid. Other quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, CJ Stroud, Drake May, Justin Herbert, JJ McCarthy, all coming off the board. And I probably should look running back at some point. Woody Marks feels like a really good pick right now based on what's going on over there in Houston. I know Dameon Pierce has gotten some steam over the last few weeks, but just getting, and Jalen Coker too. I think Jalen Coker at this point, based on what the Panthers did in trading away Adam Thielen, Jalen Coker is a very nice sleeper to target later in your drafts for sure. I think we maybe pray that he comes, but he's lower down the ADP. Hunter Henry also would be a nice second tight end. And with this team, I think I wouldn't mind rostering 2 tight ends. Probably not going to take a second quarterback on this team, but just in case, Loveland isn't as good as we think, pairing Loveland with a solid veteran like Hunter Henry feels like a good idea, or a Chiga Conquo or somebody safe like that. But I think how we're going to play this is I'm going to go with Woody Marks. and then we're gonna hope that Coker makes his way back to us, or potentially we get, a Will Shipley or Justice Hill type player as well would be a good way to go about it. So Hunter Henry, Kyle Pitts, those tight ends do come off the board. Justice Hill, Will Shipley, Marshawn Lloyd, Justin Fields. You know, I'm not a big fan of Justin Fields. I don't think it's any secret, but in round 13, I think I might be okay with it in round 13. If you wait for a quarterback, I didn't know he was going that low. Like we're approaching dangerous territory with Justin Fields. I think he's going to go higher than that, but the quarterbacks do go a lot lower in these drafts. It just kind of depends on how your home league shakes out. But at round 13, I think I'm okay with it. Honestly, I think you're going to want another quarterback on your roster because I think he's going to be inconsistent. And I don't think he's good. I don't, if they're willing to, go in another direction away from Breece Hall, potentially going to a committee at running back. I know Tyrod Taylor's there, so you think you're safe, but I'm just saying I watched Justin Fields very closely for 3 years. He's a very inconsistent player. He's a very frustrating player. Yes, he has splash plays at times, which can make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, but I don't know. I think he is a very, very risky pick if you take him, in round 8, 9, 10. But in round 13, I think I'm okay with it. Sorry, that was a long, rambling way of saying I'm okay with Justin Fields where he's going. Now, Luther Burden is there, but I do think just for this season, I want Jalen Coker. Cokeheads unite. So we get Jalen Coker there. Romeo Dubs, Trey Harris, Demario Douglas, DJ Giddens, Jared Goff, Keaton Mitchell, Cedric Tillman, Joshua Palmer, Julio McLaughlin, Jarquez Hunter, Brashard Smith all come off the board. Wan'Dale Robinson is right there for us to take, and that would probably be my preference, although Luther Burden is there as well. Running backs, Chris Rodriguez might not be a bad pick. He may come back to us. We'll see. But it's probably between Luther Burden and Wan'Dale Robinson. And honestly, at this stage, I think we shoot for some upside. We have a lot of wide receivers here that we like. AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Travis Hunter, Khalil Shakir, Debo, Jaden Reed, Darnell Mooney, Coker. So let's shoot for some upside and let's stash a wide receiver that could be a big play threat if something happens to DJ Moore, if something happens to Rome Odunze, God forbid. So let's go Luther Burden. What happens here? You can't see. Okay, so Dameon Pierce, that might have been a good pick. Chris Rodriguez does come off the board. Yeah, Pierce would have been a nice pick too. We do have 4 running backs. We only need to play 2 at any given time, and I do prefer wide receivers in those flex spots anyway. But I think we have enough wide receivers. I'm also good with passing on a second tight end. So I think running back, getting maybe a Taj Brooks. Actually, yeah, I like Taj Brooks quite a bit as a backup. Yeah, let's go Taj Brooks. And let's see how they think. Okay, so A-. I can't quite crack an A. It almost, the way I said that made you think I can't quite crack an egg, but can't quite crack an egg, which is kind of a hard thing to say if you think about it. So we have Jalen Hurts, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Colston Loveland, Travis Hunter, Tyrone Tracy in the flex, but we have plenty of wide receiver options. And a running back on the bench too. We could easily throw like Shakir or Debo in that flex, and I would feel totally fine about it. So let's see where we line up here. I can't quite get to like number 1 or number 2, but when those 12-person leagues, I do think it's underrated to be a top 6 team, because once you make the playoffs, I mean, I think it's about 30% of the time that the number 1 seed wins, which is significant, but also not. I mean, there's a great chance, or not a great chance, but a good chance, decent chance that, if you're a 3, 4, 5, 6 seed, you're in the dance, man. You made it. So, strengths, obviously running backs are going to be a strength, wide receivers. It's not going to like our tight end, but on the whole, I think we do have some, especially at quarterback, edges here. So let's see what the experts think. Chris Dell, I feel like Chris Dell is always liking my teams. Brad Beatson, I've seen him pop up. Joe Rico, not a fan. Master IDP, no bueno, doesn't like it. Travis Seal, not having it. So let's go to steals and reaches. I don't think I had any. Oh, actually, Luther Burden was a steal according to them, ranked 138th. I picked him at 175. Pick analysis. So they wanted me to take Marvin Harrison Jr. instead of Jalen Hurts. I don't know about that. I don't like that. Honestly, I like our current roster better with Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts as opposed to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jared Goff. I don't know if there were any other changes there that they made. I guess they did take Devonta Smith in round 5, so they just waited on quarterback. Okay. I think that's nitpicking a little bit, but I would be fine waiting on quarterback. Maybe we should have. I don't know, but Jalen Hurts in round 4 felt like too good of a value to pass up, and especially if he falls to round 5. It's ridiculous. Okay, so let's recap the team one more time. We took Jahmyr Gibbs, A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, Travis Hunter, Tyron Tracy, Khalil Shakir, Deebo Samuel, Jaden Reed, Darnell Mooney, Colston Loveland, Woody Marks, Jalen Coker, Luther Burden, and Taj Brooks. We got an A- from Fantasy Pros. Let me know what you think of this draft in the comments. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe if you liked it and want more of it. Don't forget to hit the alarm bell to be notified of new content when it drops on the channel. We will be announcing an in-season schedule here very soon, probably in the comments section or in the community section, rather, of weekly shorts, weekly videos to prepare you for the upcoming week, whether it's waiver wire targets, trade targets, players to sell away. We're going to have you covered on this channel, so be tapped in, do all the things, and until next time, thank you for watching. Be good, everybody, and we will see you later.